Good evening. Good evening and welcome. My name is Emily Mead, and I am Director of Philanthropy for the New Bedford Whaling Museum. And I want to welcome you to the final program of the New Bedford Whaling Museum's 2023 Portuguese Lusophone-World Lecture Series. The Portuguese Lusophone-World Lecture Series is co-sponsored by the Department of Portuguese and Brazilian Studies at Brown University, with support from FLOD, the Luso-American Development Foundation. So we are grateful to both for their support. We also are very grateful for the additional sponsorship support provided by the Center for Portuguese Studies and Culture at UMass Dartmouth. Thank you. Finally, I want to thank all of our museum members. I see a number of you in the audience tonight. If perchance you are not a museum member, I would encourage you to become one this evening and participate in other events like this. We have brochures at the front counter, and of course, you can always sign up for membership at whalingmuseum.org. Tonight, before our sold-out crowd this evening, here at the New Bedford Whaling Museum, I am delighted to welcome Gilbert Perry and Maria Lawton for a candid question and answer session. Following the talk, we will invite you out to gather in the Jacobs Family Gallery just outside the theater for a light reception and continued conversation. But first, I am delighted to introduce Gil Perry and Maria Lawton. Gil is a museum trustee. He is an active volunteer and a member of our transcription team, and he is co-chair with Onésimo Almeida of the museum's Portuguese Advisory Council. And Maria, of course, also known as the Azorean Green Bean, is an author, and she is the host and producer of the award-winning PBS series Maria's Portuguese Table, which celebrates Lusophone heritage and Azorean traditions. Please join me in welcoming Gil and Maria.
Okay, is it on? Is it on? You can hear me?
Mine on?
Yeah, all right. I do feel like I'm in the hot seat. This is Maria. Get to know Maria. Woohoo!
Wait, I'm the host.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stop. Will you stop?
I'm sorry.
You're the guest.
Okay, that's right.
So.
Oh, boy.
So, to get this started, I just want to read a text I got from Maria about an hour and a half ago. See you in a bit. It's going to be lots of fun. While we are doing this, we will make believe that we are having coffee together and having our usual conversations. Uh-huh. Well, that's a complete non-starter.
Well,
when we have these...
Oh.
When we have these coffee conversations about something related to her TV show or doing this or whatever, takes 2 or 3 hours.
At least.
We only have an hour. Not only that, we typically will talk for a couple of hours and then realize we haven't really talked about the topic we're going to get together about. So I don't know where this is going to go.
I have no idea.
But we will try.
I'm going to try my best.
Wait till I ask the question.
Okay.
So
oh boy.
To get things started, I thought that the best thing we could do is I should point out, because I don't think Emily did, we will talk for 30 or 40 minutes, and then there will be at least 15 to 20 minutes for questions from the audience. So it'll be me and Maria for a while, and then the audience. So I thought the best way to get started on this would be to ask the question, and then she'll be able to answer. Who is Maria Lawton?
Oh boy.
Here's a woman who grew up or was born in Lagoa, came to America in the 60s as a little girl, grew up in the south end of New Bedford. So what was it like to come to America as a young girl and growing up? What were the ups and downs and pitfalls, and what did she learn?
What a huge question to ask right off the bat, isn't that? Okay, I'm going to try to do this the Reader's Digest version. Okay, growing up in the South End, I actually had a wonderful childhood. I had a wonderful childhood. I had, I lived in a 3-family home filled with family. So we lived on the first floor. Second floor was my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and then eventually it was my sisters would live upstairs. I had my aunt and uncle that was just a couple of blocks away on Hemlock Street, and we were on Rivet Street. I mean, you can't get any more South End than that. So it was, you know, walking to the Portuguese bakeries. It was everything. It was an enclave. It was a little enclave of people that all came, I think, at the same time and kind of stuck around each other. And well, all I know is when I would come from school, we'd walk to school all the time, right? So on the way home, my mother would already know what I did wrong that day, you know? And it's because everybody was watching, you know? And then my mom would say, I'll get dismissed. Like somebody told me they were watching. I'm like, who are these people and where are they watching? But it was a very close-knit kind of community. And I know it's not that same way now, but I grew up that way. And I grew up there was no bilingual program. It was total immersion. So, but I grew up around all the same children that came in at the same time as me. So we had all of that in common. And on top of it all, my parents knew their parents. So everybody knew everybody. So, you know, when I look back on how I grew up, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful way to grow up. It really took a village.
Did you have role models or inspirations?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think even to this day, I have, and it's all family. It's all family people that are role models for me. You know, I loved my dad. I've always said that I am my father's daughter because he, you know, my first love was my dad. My dad was everything to me. And my mom had a very small galley kitchen, and she would allow only I'm the youngest of the daughters. And so it would be always the oldest ones helping my mom, and I would be, Maria, fora, like, get out of here, like, get out of the kitchen, you're in my way. And because I would be like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, let's go in here. Like, I wanted to know more, but she didn't have time for that. Whereas my sisters would go in the kitchen, they would follow directions. Maybe I've never followed directions, so maybe that's the reason. But it was a type of thing where my dad I loved his energy. I always loved the way he was. He always was like tough, and the way that, you know, he was always tough to others, but he was never tough to me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I always had a very good relationship with my father. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my madrinha, Filomena Swatch is her name. And she was a tough cookie. She was a tough cookie. And when I say that she would walk in a room and they would sit up because you did not want to get hit over the head with a chinella. You did not want that, you know, but she commanded respect. She was, how can I explain it? All the men in my life that I grew up with would allow or would not allow, because that's not the right thing, but they were helpers as well. So my father cooked, my father cleaned, my father did laundry, my father did, not your typical kind of helper, but that is what I grew up with. So I saw a team. So I have, yeah, and then my Aunt Lalia, who was here today, she, you know, because I have the first book, it's because of her. Let's not forget that. So I have a lot of family role models.
Now you say that you, in the household, you didn't follow directions.
Sometimes.
And how did things work out at Mount Carmel?
Oh. My cousin, be quiet. Well, I was caught kissing a boy. That was not a good thing. That was not a good thing. That was the call from the nuns, the Mother Superior, to my mother, saying, we caught your daughter kissing a boy. So my mom, ay, que vergonha, what a, it's like, oh, you were caught kissing a boy. My dad was like, you kissed a boy? I went, yes, Dad, okay. And that was it. And then it was dropped. It was dropped. My dad was like, oh, okay, she kissed a boy, what's wrong? Okay. But yeah, no, I questioned everything. I questioned everything. But why? Why was a question that they did not like hearing all the time.
This is at Mount Carmel.
This is the Catholic school,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Yes. They tried.
Right. Well, now that we know who you are and were as
Yes.
a young girl, fast forward, and now you have a successful cookbook and a TV
Yep.
show, a couple of seasons. How did that develop?
Well, the book, and I think you've heard this before for those that follow me, the book came from loss. In a very short period of time, I lost my mom very quickly. I lost my first was my brother-in-law. He was 43 years old. It was like, oh, it was so fast, and he passed away. And then my mom, around the same time, got diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was that, and it was already in its last stages. It wasn't like, it was so fast. And then it was after my mom passed, my dad, it was like he wanted to go too. He was lost. He was a lost soul. And it was my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, it was like everybody seemed, like everybody that I loved had passed. And all of a sudden, and I was in my late 30s and going into my 40s when all of this happened. And I know there are plenty of people who lose their parents much younger. But I always had it in my head that they would grow old like their parents. They were in their 90s and late 80s, and I thought, okay, that's what you think. Like we all know we're not all gonna be here forever. We know that. But I thought I had more time. And that's the thing. It's like the time. And when my mom was very sick, it's not like you sit down with them and go, oh, she's dying, and I want to ask her the recipe for rouge douce. That doesn't work that way. That's the least of your thought process. But when one would pass away, and then, you mourn, you grieve, you come up for air, and then you lose another one, then you mourn and grieve, and again, you come up, another one, and it kept going like that. And then finally, when the dust settled, I turned to Bob, and I'm like, I've lost everyone. I feel like I've lost everyone. And what's gonna happen to my girls? The recipes, all the things, all the traditions, it was always at my mom's. My mom did everything. My mom did all the cooking. Every party, every fashta, everything was my mom making everything. And everything came out of that galley kitchen, that small galley kitchen, that to this day I have no idea how she cooked as much as she cooked, and everything came out all like hot and ready, and everything was like perfect. And it's like, I have 3 daughters. I know that they're half English-Irish, but the other half is Portuguese, And I'm like, and Portuguese overtakes everything else. I don't know. It does. And just in case you don't know, I'm very proud of being Portuguese, just so you know. And so it's like, okay, they're going to lose all that. How am I going to, they have to remember who they are and where they come from. That is the key. Who we are and where we come from, and never to forget that, no matter what nationality, you need to remember that, and you need to pass that on to the next generation. And I just started writing recipes down, and of course my mother never wrote recipes down. And I found a book with some stuff after my dad passed that we were cleaning, and found a notebook, but she worked in the factory. So all the people that were sitting around her, they were talking about recipes. So it would be bolo de Senhora Rosa, Supa de Senhora Evelina. Who the heck is that? I don't know. I don't know who that is. But, you know, it would be stuff like that that you'd go, oh, she would make these recipes. Like she would try, oh, I remember having this. So I started creating all these things and writing things down for my girls. And that is the honest to God's answer. I didn't do it for anyone else to see it. I did it for my children and one day my grandchildren, as well as my nieces, my nephews. It was strictly a family thing. So sometimes I'll write some stories in my cookbook. It's because I want to tell that story to my girls. And there are sometimes I write a recipe and I'll say, I know you want to add more, but don't do it. It's because I know my girls would want. So it literally is, it was for that, you know? But I didn't have all the recipes. I had to go back to the Azores with a notebook of all recipes I didn't have so that I could cook with, literally I cooked in different kitchens for the book. I cooked with my tia Inês, I cooked with my cousin Lariana, and I cooked with my cousin João Manuel. And those were the kitchens that they went, ah, querida, vem, like, you know, because I was the crazy woman at Stop and Shop who would see a little old lady, and I'd say, oh, she's Portuguese. Okay, let me go over. And, and that is the honest to goodness truth. And I would say, olá, senhora. Ai, querida. Oh, okay, she knows Portuguese. Okay. And then I would say, a senhora sabe a receita para fazer da, 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 da. Oh, where are you from? Oh, eu sou de São Miguel. Ah, eu já sabia da pronúncia. Ah, okay. All right. All right, I get it. I'm from San Miguel. And then they would say, I'd say this. Oh, she goes, oh, no, I'm from Pico. We don't cook like that. We cook with the different things, whatever. And I'd go, oh, okay. So I was constantly searching for that. And then I also, every Friday for a year, was it a year or maybe 2 years? Every Friday, was my day off from work, and I would go to my Aunt Lalia's with my Uncle John there, and we'd sit down, we'd look at pictures of family, we'd start talking about different stories, which, again, so important to do. I don't care what nationality you are, you have to sit down, you've got to write those stories, because one day you're not going to be here. And it needs to continue. That needs to continue, okay? So we'd sit down, and then my aunt would go, do you have this recipe? And I go, I have one. She goes, oh, but you're going to like mine better. So you're going to do this. So we would cook together on Fridays. Oh, and I would write with her, and I would write the stories down. And so when it says my tia Lalia's recipe, it is my tia Lalia's recipe, and she does exist. I did have someone ask me if she ever, does she really exist? Yes, she does. Yes, she's right here. She exists.
So this is how the cookbook
That's
came
how the
to be.
cookbook came to be.
And that eventually evolved into a
Well,
TV series, which would mean a lot of money to
Oh.
produce.
Oh.
So how does a woman, a young woman in New Bedford,
yeah.
go about getting the support and the funding to do season 1 and then a season 2?
Okay.
And how difficult was it?
Pooh, I don't think we have enough time today. Well, I'll give you the abridged version of the book. With the book, publishers wanted it. I self-published. It was my baby. I wasn't going to publish with anybody else. And I would do book tours. And then I had a publisher help me, and they said, oh, we'll help you do this, 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 but the book is yours. It's not ours, and it is. It belongs to me. And I would do book talks. And in these book talks that I would have, and I even went to Canada. I did a book tour in Canada as well, and for the first book. And I would always have people say to me, you know, why don't we have Portuguese cooking on TV? And, you know, there's Italians, there's, you know, Asian, there's Mexican, there's, you know, whatever, every Greek, everything. But there's nothing in Portuguese. And I would say, you are absolutely correct. It needs to be done. Somebody needs to do it. And that was my answer. I just didn't realize it was me that was going to do it, because it kept happening over and over and over again. And then, once again, my dear husband, I got that man. Thank you, Bob, because he is here. And it was like, talking to a friend of mine, and she says, you need to go to PBS Rhode Island. She said, I worked with Ciao Italia. She worked with Marianne Esposito way back when she did her shows out of Rhode Island PBS. And so she said, I know someone there. Give them a call. Tell them that, Cindy, first name is Cindy, that Cindy sent you, and see if you can get to talk to them to tell them what they need to do. I'm like, okay. I love telling people what to do. So it's like, okay. And so I made the appointment. I get there, I thought I was talking to one person. It was a table full of people. And I told them what I thought they should do in representing the Portuguese, especially in our community, but not only in our community. We are in every state of the Union. And so it's not like granted we're a bigger cluster in this area, but we're everywhere. We are everywhere. And so they're like, oh, we love the idea, Maria. Go ahead, do a pilot. We want to see it. And I'm like, do a pilot? Like, what the hell is a pilot? I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever what the heck. So I get home and I'm like, Bob's like, so how did it go? I'm like, they want a pilot from me. What the heck am I going to do? So we called, and this is the thing. I called my friends, the Portuguese kids, okay? I called them, and I said, because I knew they do commercials sometimes, they film different things and stuff. So I said to Brian and to Derek, those were the two troublemakers that I dealt with. And so I said, they need a pilot. How do I put a pilot in? Don't worry, we'll do one. And so they got DBS in Dartmouth, the Dartmouth Building Supply, where they have the kitchen thing. We filmed Saturday when they closed, and then Sunday all day when they were closed. So because it was more of, we tried doing a little bit more kitchen stuff, and because they wanted to see how I was comfortable in front of a camera, because obviously I've never done this before. I didn't know what that was anyway. So we do it, we bring it to them, and they go, we want 13 more. So I'm like, 13 more? I'm like, how am I going to do 13 more? So I'm like, who's going to do it? And they're like, well, who did the pilot? And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't for them. This isn't for them. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have to find a production company. You're going to have to find this. And I'm like, okay, and who pays for it? She goes, you have to find the money. And I'm like, I've got to find the money. Okay, so because that's the whole thing with PBS. PBS, you do not get paid for PBS. You raise money, you pay all of the crew, the production crew, you pay for transportation, you pay for everything possible. And then at the end, you tie it in a pretty little bow and you hand it over to PBS. And then from there, the distributor, the national distributor, might look at it and go, ooh, this looks good, we'd like it, okay? So they had told me, so backtrack here. Derek says, I know someone who's got their own production company. He's from Santa Maria. And see, and this is one of the things, I always wanted like the people that I was working around with to be Portuguese. Because, not to discredit any other nationality, but I wanted them to know, I wanted them to be part of it and to be around me because I knew it was going to be the first show on TV about Portuguese culture. And I knew that I wanted those around me to understand the importance of it, and they did. So that was important to me. So he comes from Santa Maria, he lives in California, I met him, he told me, you can't afford me. This is what he told me, you can't afford me because He, works for HBO, he does this, he does that, he's like multi-Emmy winning, the whole kit and caboodle. And so I went, okay, it was nice meeting you, that's it, I'll find somebody else. And then he goes back home and starts thinking about it. And he calls me and he goes, okay, I'll do it for a lot less, but it will not be my first job doing. This is not something I'm going to do it on my downtime. So it might take a year for you to get it. It might take more, but I will work on it little at a time. So let me look for money. It took me 4 years. 4 years.
To find the money?
To find the money for season 1. 4 years. It was 4 years of no. And I can take no. I can take no. I'm a big girl. But when it was no with insults, ooh, I had a hard time. When it was no because you're a woman, ooh, I did get that. I did get that. And I'm sharing this. I don't share this that often, but I did get that. And why are you doing it and not someone else? Why isn't a male chef doing this? And I said, well, you've got to ask a male chef because I'm here and I'm going to be doing it. Like, screw you. That's what I wanted to say. I know someone's recording this up there. This is a PG-13 right now. And, but the thing is I didn't say that to him. I got up and I said, I'm sorry if you can't afford this, and wasted your time. I know they could afford it, but the only insult I could do was to say that they couldn't. That was my only way, because I was not going to act, what do you, oh, no, that would have fed into everything. So, and I had some say, oh yeah, I'll give you money, and then it came time to give me money, they don't answer the phone. And then I had some people, one person had me going to their office in another state because he wanted to meet me and introduce me to everybody, only to be told, oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna give you any money. So 4 years. And I said to my husband, I said, I am not taking the no. And I think I've shared this with other people too. It's not no. And if they're saying no, it's because they're not supposed to be part of this. That energy of whatever they have, I don't want. Because I had some going, well, what's my percentage? And I said, percentage of 0? Because that's all I'm getting. You want a percentage of 0? You're welcome to it, right? And so I had to switch off the no to the word next. That was the only way I could keep going. Because 4 years is a long time of no, because, whatever. And then I would hear next. Okay, next. That means next to the next person, because the next person will be the right person. And it was Bay Coast Bank. Bay Coast Bank. I love them at Bay Coast Bank. I don't know if they're a sponsor of the Whaling Museum, but they are. Nick Chris is the president of Bay Coast Bank, and a good friend of mine said, I know Nick Chris, why don't you have a meeting with him? I'm going to be whatever, and thank God for good friends who are always there to say, oh, how about this person? Or I'll introduce you to that person. Or, because you know what? You can't get to do anything all by yourself. You need to be surrounded, because you're only as good as those that surround you. And that is the truth. And I had wonderful friends that kept telling me, you can do it, keep going, don't give up. And I didn't give up, but he was the one who gave me the money. And he actually gave me the money enough to pay Dean. It was Dean's money. And I knew that I had years of him working on it, or a year or two. So if I needed to find more money, I would find more money here and there. But the majority of it came from Bay Coast Bank for Dean. So I knew I had enough to pay the production people, which was wonderful. And then season 1 goes on air. all of a sudden the distributor picks it up right away, which Rhode Island PBS said that's unheard of. Usually they pick second, third, even fourth seasons. They don't pick usually the first season. So I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm just riding it. I'm just riding the wave. And I see two beautiful faces up there that I recognize. I want to give you two a hug. And then the thing is I just went with the flow, and it got done, and then it got an Emmy nomination. It got Telly Awards, bronze and silver for the best culture in food and travel. It got the best in. So it was, at that point, those that said no for 4 years, what I really wanted to do is I really wanted to say in your face. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because you can't go to their level, you know? You can't go to their level. So when season 2? So PBS Rhode Island season 2, we want season 2, everybody wants season 2, all the stations want season 2. And so we're like, okay, season 2 is not gonna be another year of him doing it on the side. I need more money. That was it. So Bay Coast Bank, of course, came forward again. They were I went to them first. And of course, he never lets me down, so he gave me money. And then it was the UMass Dartmouth, is she here today?
Paula was here.
Oh, she was here. But
The Center for Portuguese Studies at UMass Dartmouth.
they came up with money. It was Dunkin' Donuts came up with money. It was, oh my goodness, Ben Saoud. It was SATA. I can't take foreign money. One of the things working with PBS, you can't take foreign money. It's in their bylaws. So, but you can take in kind. So they gave me a break on tickets. The Ben Saoud family with hotels, they couldn't give me money. So they gave me a break on hotel rooms. The Visit Azores, which is the tourism thing, they helped me with dinners, lunches, whatever for the crew, for me to feed the crew. They helped me with prices there on that. So I was wheeling and dealing like all along the way to make sure that I could pay these bills. And then the bills get paid, everything was done. We handed it in April, this past April, to PBS Rhode Island, and it just flew. I mean, they were like, it's #1 in Rhode Island PBS. It's also the #1 this. It's the top 5 that. So it was like, oh my God, all of a sudden. And then the distributor was like, we want it right away. And it was the fastest, and it went on streaming. So it streams now on the PBS app for free, and it streams on PBS Passport. So people everywhere throughout the US, even if their station isn't showing it, they're watching it. So it has been crazy the numbers. And where I hear people from, Texas or down in South Carolina or in Idaho or, all different, from everywhere in the US, I've heard from people who are Portuguese and some that aren't. And like, oh my God, I can't wait to go to Portugal now. I can't wait to go to the Azores now. Oh my goodness, I never, what a great show or whatever. So it's almost like my book. Even to this day, some days it's like #1 on Amazon. It's like crazy. It's like 10 years. It has like a mind of its own. It's just like, I'm just letting it, I make it and then I let it go. And there it is, but it is very hard. I had someone approach me one time, and I guess they meant well, and they're like, oh, I've always wanted to do a show like that. And I'm like, that's awesome, you should. Go right ahead, do it. And they're like, well, where do I start? Well, you got to start, and that's it, you just do it. So if there's somebody in here who's like, oh, I'd like to film something, I'd like to do X, Y, Z, or whatever it is, you just start. You just do it. And you don't take those no's. You don't stop for the no's. Because you know what? They're not seeing your journey. They are not involved in they can't visualize what you have. Because this is my journey, whatever journey. And you're with me on this journey because you're here with me right now. But we're all on our own journey. And for those that don't see it, you don't want them on your journey. Does that make sense? You want those that go, yeah, let's do it. It's a yes, let's do that, you know?
Well, on your journey through TV production,
Yes,
you have told me that you have no script
no,
and no itinerary,
No.
which I find hard to believe. So how in the world do you do a segment in Peak or in Fayal or in Fall River with no script?
okay. Yeah, it's crazy. It's very unorthodox. It really is not something where that's not the norm. So, of course, Maria has to do it Maria's way. It's because I've got to be me. I've got to do it and be me. I'm not going to have a script to say, oh, so today we're going to da-da-da-da and read, no. I can't do that. I can't do that. I have it in my head, what I want. I see it in my head. Like, I already see what I want to show. Because if I was going to do a cooking show, and that was very important to me, I didn't want to just be Maria behind the kitchen and cooking a panella of soup. That's not going to teach anyone about our culture, except making a soup of panella soupa, you know, whatever. But I wanted, if I was going to be the first show on TV, on national TV, and now we're looking at PBS Worldwide, so we'll see what happens there. But I wanted it to not only be our food, but also our history, our culture. So it's our art, it's our music, it's our, pottery, it's whatever the case may be. So when we did the first season, and I have to be honest with you, the first season I thought this was going to be it. One, I've done it, it's done. It was so hard to do, it was very difficult to get off, to do it. Probably it's going to be the only one. And of course, it's not. So when it came to doing it, I thought, okay, it's got to be a place that I want to show. But in that place, I want to show traditional things. I want to show the history of the place. So it's, when we go to the Central Islands, I knew in Terceira, I needed to make the alcatra. I knew I needed to make the Dona Amélias. And I knew I needed to go there to do that. I needed to see the Carvão, the dormant volcano that you can go in. And I knew there were like a few things that I wanted to do. And so it's, how can I explain it? It's very organic, the way that I do my stuff. So we're at a dinner, one time Bob and I were at a dinner, we were invited to an event, and we're sitting there with some people, and so they're like, oh, when are you going to do season 2? I said, oh, we're planning season 2 right now, and are you going to go to Terceira? Oh, yeah, I'm going. I'm doing Terceira, I'm doing São Jorge, I'm doing Pico, and I'm doing Fayal. And she goes, oh, I have family in Terceira. Do you have someone to make the alcatra and the Dona Amélias? And I went, no, I don't. She goes, I have a cousin who will help you. Okay. So I get to Terceira, I meet Filomena, real tough lady too. And so Filomena greets me like this. Senhora Maria? Yes, that's who I am. So it's, yeah. And then we make the alcatra together, and we do the Dona Amélias together. And then she goes, do you know about so-and-so in the village? And I go, no, I didn't know. I don't know him. She goes, oh, you need to go there. He makes pottery the traditional way. He's like one of the ones that make this most beautiful pottery, and so forth and so on. And it's in São Bento, and that's where you need to go. So we show up, and it's me, my husband. It's me and 6 men. Let's put it that way, me and 6 men. Because with all that, there's a sound guy, a lighting guy, another 2 cameras. It's like, and I show up and I said, because she called him to say, is that okay if she shows up there to film? Okay, I show up. I'm meeting these people pretty much the same time you're meeting them on camera. So, but at the end, it's like, it almost becomes family after, because you're like, oh my God, you're with you. And when we were in Fayal, I knew I wanted to film at a place called Fazenda because I had followed them on Facebook. And I sent her a message and said, I would love to film in your Fazenda if you give me permission. Because let me tell you, there are plenty of places I asked for permission, and they said no. And I don't understand it, because I am trying to show everyone, and they're like, no, 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 no. Okay, that means, what do? We go next. We don't take no, we go next. So, so when we got to Fazenda, it was like, I knew who they were, they knew who I was, because they checked, whatever, they followed me, I followed them. But when we got there, and what we created, and what we did, I had no idea. I had no idea what we were gonna do when we got there. So you literally are seeing it the same time that I am, and I like it that way. I like that organic part of it. I don't want to be, because we've had places where we were going to film, and then we go, I'm not filming here. I'm not, whether it was someone was very negative, or they were not, like, it was like, this isn't going to work. Because it has to, I don't know, there's a feeling. I have to have a feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah.
On the subject of feeling, I'm going to ask you one last question.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And then we'll open it up for a Q&A where I'm sure there'll be lots of questions about food.
Oh, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
This question is about food, and, it's about feeling.
Okay.
Food is attached to memories and to feelings and family and so on. Based upon your upbringing and so on, what's your favorite Azorean dish?
Oh, my goodness. You can't ask a Portuguese woman what's my favorite dish. It depends what mood I'm in. It depends on the mood. It depends the mood I'm in. I like to cite my book all the time, Happy Cooking, and I've said this to some people here. If I'm in a pissy mood, my food comes out horrible. So I have to be in the mood and what I feel like doing, what I feel like having.
Well, that reminds you of childhood.
Oh.
Going back to what Azorean dish harkens feelings of your childhood, of your family, etc.?
I'm going to say arroz doce. Arroz doce, yes. And for those that have my book, it's rice, sweet rice. But when you say rice pudding, to some people, it's that gloopy, like, no. That's not rice, that's not for me. I have in my book 3 recipes, because that's how much I love arroz doce. And arroz doce plays a big part in that. My birthday is not that long after Christmas. So in Christmas time, it would be all the bulge, all the masa, all the like all, and the arroz doce too, but not that much that my mom would make. She'd only make a smaller plate, because my birthday, she would always ask for our birthdays. We would have our favorite dessert made. There was no parties. We didn't do parties at the time. It was, here you go, happy birthday. That was it. And that's okay. It's all right. It turned out okay, I think. I don't know. Maybe all these years I wanted a birthday party and I never had one. I don't know. But I would have, I know I'm gonna gross some people out, but I love liver and onions. And it was just my dad, my mom, and I that would eat it. Everybody else in the family would not eat it, which made it even more special, because it was just the 3 of us eating the liver and onions. That was my meal that my mom would make for me for my birthday. And when my mom passed, my dad made it for me. It was like, it was, and so that, yeah. And then arroz doce was my dessert that I would pick. I would not pick cakes. I would not pick whatever. It was arroz doce. So my mom's arroz doce was, she cooked it longer, so that when you would put it onto a tray, it would be, you could cut it with a knife and you would pick it up. That, and my dad loved sweet rice over masa, which is sweet bread, and he would cut the slice and put it on top. And I remember that so well. So I love that recipe. Then my cousin Lariana made one, and she's like, oh, we don't want to add too much eggs. Oh, we don't want to add too much this. We want less that, more healthy. And I had it, and I went, oh, it's not bad. Okay. So someone who wants a little healthier, if there's such a thing, with street rice, it's her recipe. And then it's my tia Lalia's recipe. And that is the most decadent sweet rice recipe because she adds butter in it, which is out of this world. And in my aunt Lalia's is very creamy, but not to the point where it's mushy and soupy. I don't like soupy rice pudding. And then my cousin Lariana's in the middle, and then my mom's is the real thick one. So rice pudding.
Right.
My final answer, rice pudding.
Okay. Well, I think we'll open it up to questions from the audience. Now, I believe there are microphones back there, so if anyone, I've got at least 10 more questions, but we'll skip me. If anyone has a question,
Don't be shy. Oh, I see lots of hands up.
Let's wait for microphones.
We've got one up there.
Hi, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about the kind of emotional component of knowing that your family recipes are being cooked by people all across the country and all across the world, and knowing, you have your mom's recipe and she's passed, and there's people who are cooking it now, and so I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Thank you for that, and thank you for being here. I get that a lot. I get people who send me emails who say, oh my goodness, I have your book. Your story is my story, and I never wrote down those recipes. I never got the chance to do that. I never had the chance to cook with my mom. And then they start making the recipes, and it's like, it comes close to what my grandmother made. And all of a sudden, it's like that, I want to start crying. It's very touching to hear that. It continues. I can only imagine how happy they are. Like that's, and I think I was talking to my cousins are here from Portugal, and they're here for a while with us at home. And we were having a conversation the other day, and I said, I do this because he was like, you do this. Why do you do this? That was the question. Why do I do this? Because I have nothing to prove to anyone. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Why do I do it? And I think, number one, I do it for them. I do it for them. Yeah.
thank you.
Maria and I are from different Portuguese islands,
Yes.
and we all know how that can work sometimes.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
with the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament here in the beautiful city of New Bedford, and we received an email from Maria asking us if she could come and film before the feast and get our recipe for the boule de coq, the meat, the bread that we made. And in her list it said, and it's going to have the sweet potato, right? We don't make it with sweet potato. I thought there was going to be a revolution over there. But I knew that having Maria come, because of the way she has made all of the islands of the Azores look so spectacular, she did the same for the city of New Bedford. So they all fell in love with Maria by the end of the day. We were in tears by the time you left. We had had a little bit of wine.
We did.
But we have heard from all over the country about that show and our feast in the city of New Bedford. So what she is doing for the Azores she is doing in spades for our community, and we owe her big gratitude for that. Fall River, Provincetown,
Love you.
New Bedford, thank you.
Love you, love you. You know, it was important for me to show, yes, I need to show Portuguese outside, you know, where the islands, and I will go to Madeira. That's season 3. And the thing is, but I also have to show where we are as the diaspora, where we are. And we're everywhere, and we cling on to who we are and carrying on those traditions. And it's important to show everyone how we do that. Thank you, hon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew. No one else? Who is shy? Oh, there's another one. Okay. It's like, we're Portuguese. We're not shy.
She's Dutch.
Oh, you're Dutch. That's right. You're Dutch. Okay.
Maria, I have been watching PBS since I was a little girl. We grew up with 3 channels, like in upstate New York. Rick Steves was my #1 PBS. I was like a PBS fan of Rick Steves for a long time.
I love
You're
him
my
too.
#1 now.
Oh.
Have you ever met Rick Steves? Is there plans for a Rick and Maria future program?
Let's put it
I would
out.
love to see you together.
Let's put it out in the universe.
Let's put it up. That's right.
Put
Send
it
our
out in the
thoughts to the
universe.
universe, people.
Let's put it out into the universe. You never know. Yeah. No, I was reached out to by Michaela, who does the dancing. Oh my goodness, I just like heard the name. It's like dancing through with Michaela, and she goes to different countries, and she's a dancer, and she dances their traditional dances. So I've spoken to her a few times. It's funny how the PBS community the ones that are on the screen understand the work that it takes to make it happen. And she struggled a lot too. But we all understand that really quite well. But I love him too. I love him too. Oh my goodness, that would be fun. That would be lots of fun. Who else? Oh,
Mine was just a comment.
yes.
And I wanted to thank you for giving us a passport and taking us on a journey. Because the journey you take us, you share yourself and you share the people that you're cooking with. I've gone to so many restaurants. I only feel bad that I'm not tasting the food while you are just so animated and so into. You love every bite of what you eat.
I really do.
And I'm jealous.
Yeah. No, it's been, see, again, the people who said yes were the right people. The people that said yes, come on in, they were the right people to say that and to be recorded. Because at the end, it's like, oh my goodness, this is so good. And I had people reach out to me with, especially in Pico, when I was in Pico, and I had the Czar wine. And I have to tell you, that was like, I was like, I wanted to say, what the? Because it was like the most different wine I have ever had in my life. And I know that I will never buy a bottle of their wine because it is extremely expensive. You know, because everything they make, he sells. I mean, he's got years he hasn't produced it yet, and he's already sold everything. The wine is that good. And he only makes like, 800 bottles? And that's it. And they have collectors coming in and buying his wine. So for me to be able to taste this wine that I know Russian czars would like want it at their table and all, and I'm like, I'm a green bean. And here I am, you know, having this exquisite wine that those of the upper whatever, you know, that can buy, you know, a $5,000 bottle of wine is like nothing to them, that I'm able to enjoy that. Do you know how grateful I am? So I am beyond grateful for all of that, for those yeses, and for those people letting me into their homes. And because, you know, I'm a stranger. They have no idea who the heck I am. And all I tell them is that you have to trust me, and we're going to take very good care. I will not show anything that is not right. You know, if it's got to be, I'm going to take care of them. So, and I do, I try my best. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Oh, there's another person there.
Go ahead.
Okay. I can remember you on Rui Pereira's Scalloper, throwing the line, and you're not a water person, are you?
No, I'm not.
And what a brave woman. And you did a fine job.
I did it in one try.
Yes, you did.
Even the fishermen were really proud of me.
They were.
They were.
So
They were like,
it's-
yeah, she
It's
did
not
it
a
in one.
question, it's just thank you.
Oh.
And from my family in California in the Central Valley, they thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Hi.
Hi there.
I was born in the Azores, and I was just curious. Your last name is Lawton now, but I'm curious as to what your maiden name was.
Oh, I have many maiden names. I have a long list of names, and I won't give them in order. I'll give them in different orders. I have Swash. I have Tixera, Teixeira. I have DuPont. I have Medeiros. I have Cabral. And I have Chora, Chora, which means to cry. And hence, I cry
Yep.
very easily.
Yep.
So I must be a Chora. I am a Chora. Do you know when I'm in the Azores, my cousin and I, my cousin's dad, my cousin there, Joan, and I, sometimes we start talking, and then all of a sudden we're crying. And then the people that are there, because we're both Choras, that's what it is. We both come from that same cloth. And then they start singing the song, Chora, Chora, Chora. And I'm like, what is that song? So, and we're crying and they're singing, Chora, Chora. And I guess there's a song, Chora, Chora, Chora. Who knew? Who knew there was a song? But those are all my names, hon.
I also wanted to thank you for going back to your childhood, because a lot of your childhood reminded me of my own.
Yes.
And I also lost people close to me at very young ages.
Yeah.
And my parents, too. And I miss them dearly.
Yeah.
And your story is a little bit of my story, too.
Yes,
And so I
yes.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Maria. I'm over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And hi, Maria. My husband and I follow you all the time. We have your book, so we just thoroughly enjoy it. And I know you said one of your maiden name was Shawash, and that's my maiden name. So maybe I'm from Cape Verde. I'm my ancestry, but who knows?
Who knows?
But anyhow,
Who knows?
I also wanted to say that my husband and I are both corporators at the bank, Bay Coast, and Nick Chris is just a wonderful, wonderful person.
He really is.
He is, and I know you gave him the due, but he truly is. You give him an idea, he researches it, and if
Yeah.
he feels that to be committed to it, he will be. So I wanted to say that.
Do you know, I sat down with him, and he said, okay, tell me. And so I started telling him what I wanted, and I think I was like 5 minutes in, and this is no word of a lie, 5 minutes in, and he went, stop, what do you need? And I told him, I said, I need this to pay my producer. And he went, you got it. It was like that. And at the end of that, I thank him profusely all the time. I mean, because it is because of him. Because if he had not said yes to it, season 1 would have never happened, which season 2 would have never happened. It is because of that man. It really is. And I said to him, why did you say yes? I wanted to know that. And he said, who wouldn't say yes? And I went, oh. I had 4 years of no. That's who. It's a no-brainer. That's what he told me. It's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't anyone say yes to that? But he's a beautiful man. Yes, beautiful man.
I've got one question that I think
Yes.
will present a short answer.
I can't promise that.
We'll see.
Okay.
you've had 2 seasons of the TV show.
Yes.
You've seen the popularity of the show nationally. I know you were recently in Texas for
Yes.
some ribbon cutting of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
So, those experiences, have they revealed something about Portuguese culture that you never really realized? Or that they highlight something about Portuguese culture that resonates with you?
You know, I've always been very proud of being Portuguese, always. And I think it has to do with my grandfather, who always had a book in his hand, always, when he retired. And my grandfather taught himself to read, my maternal father. My paternal father, he was illiterate. It was an X for his name. But my maternal grandfather would read constantly. He would read constantly. I think he made up for that lost time of reading. And he would read Portuguese history all the time. So I'd come home from school and I'd have almost like Portuguese lessons on how great the Portuguese are.
Right, of course.
Do you know how amazing we are? Do you know how great we are? It wasn't just amazing, it was we were great. We did this, we did that, and that's us. You know, it's almost, I always say this to people, it's almost like my big fat Greek wedding and the grandfather with the Windex. Okay, minus the Windex, that was my grandfather. Everything came back to the Portuguese. Oh yeah, they did that, but you know, the Portuguese did it. Da, 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 da. So I've always had it in me that we come from greatness. We come from great people. We come from great people. So, of course, I'm going to be proud of that because we come from great people. We come from some horrible people too, but that's another time. That's not today. We're going to talk about that. But the thing is I've always been. I love being around Portuguese people. I love that. Well, I'm a people person, so I like everybody anyway. But I just saw us. We're wonderful. We're really a great group of people. You know, they didn't let me down in that way. The majority of us did not let me down. Does that make sense? There are some in there that did, but they're small amounts. But they did not let me down. They never let me down.
So greatness on an individual level.
Yes. Yeah, there are some really amazing, amazing people. And Nick Chris is not Portuguese, although I told him he should be. But no, I think there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good and wonderful, amazing people, even more so. You know, you want to see good Portuguese people. Does that make sense? Yeah.
We have time for one last question.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Maria,
What? Yes.
I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm Maria too.
Oh, hi, querida.
And today, querida, marks 50 years that my parents and their kids, myself included, and my sister, came to the United States from São Miguel.
Wonderful.
I have a couple, well, one question is, I was wondering if your recipes, another book you would write might be how the recipes bring you back to a certain memory as a way of tying in the culture with the food, but also kind of a personal journey or your personal evolution of who you are.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about what you do is because as an Azorean, we're very, it's not that we're not proud, we're very humble. So it's rare for a Portuguese immigrant from the Azores to be braggadocious. We generally aren't. It's very much, it's okay, it's not that good, it's not my best effort. So it's nice that you bring that out. And I mean, you know, everybody's history has dark spots and light spots and good spots and bad spots.
Everyone.
But I think the Azorean people have a humility to them for the most part, that is very ingratiating. And I appreciate that.
Oh,
in
thank you. You know, I've heard that a few times in the past, and I didn't get that gene. It must have skipped somewhere, because my mom was very, you have to be careful. You know, I would go out, oh, you're wearing that? You can't wear that. You have to, you know, because she would go out with the purse matching the shoes, and she had to have lipstick on, and her makeup had to be on right, and her hair had to be perfect. And I'd be like, I'm going out. And, you know, it was like, you know, whereas my grandmother, her mom, was like, like, she was a character. She was a character. And I loved her, and she loved me. She was hard on other people, but she wasn't hard on me ever. But no, that gene skipped me, because, again, I grew up, I do it for them because of what they did to me. And that is, I always had, in-house, we spoke Portuguese only. Outside, I was American. Inside, I was sou portuguesa, sou açoriana. Okay? Never forget. Could never forget. And so there was those two worlds that I had. And then I had my grandfather telling me how great we were and how fantastic we were. So how could I not, you know, so when I say, you know, I was called, we were all bullied when we were going through school and in that time, you know, in the 60s, and you came in, everybody was. And I think any nationality coming in, they all get bullied, and it's the same stupid circle of life that we can't stand, but it's all the stuff that we go through. When I was called greenhorn, or when I was called a fava bean, or a pork chop, or pork and cheese, you know, pork and cheese, oh yeah, you're so clever, Portuguese, okay, whatever. You know, it's like, you know, stupid idiots. And so I would be, yeah, you wish you were. And that is my answer, right? You wish you were. You wish you were what I am, because I come from great people. That's it. That's it. So they created who I am. And that's why I do it for them. It is literally my love letter. Yeah. 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 Do we have time for one more? Oh, one more.
You started off your presentation in regard and made reference to the Rivet Street.
Yes,
And you came here in 1960.
I did.
I came here in 1960 to go fishing. And I wound up on Division and Crapo.
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
I'm an Irishman. My wife was Swedish. My kids, 3 girls, were towheads. They were blonde.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have anything to worry about when I went fishing because the neighborhood took care of us. It was amazing.
It really was.
And this is a point I want to make. This is the roots you have.
Yes, it is.
And I can relate to it because
Yes.
it changed my whole life.
Yes.
And it changed my family.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, I've always been proud to say I'm from New Bedford. Because when I go out of the thing, people go, oh, you're from New Bedford? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with New Bedford? Like, you know, it's like the fighting words. It's like, you want to pick a fight? You know, because what's wrong with New Bedford? It's beautiful. You know, and the funny thing is sometimes when you're in your own city and you see it all the time and you're around it all the time and you don't see beyond that sometimes, you go, ugh, you know, whatever. But when you leave and you come back, you go, what a beautiful city. It is a beautiful city. You know, there is good and bad everywhere. It doesn't matter what city, what town, what village, whatever it was. There's good and bad everywhere. And I'm like you. I had a beautiful upbringing. I really did. And it was south end of New Bedford, you know, and playing on Ashley Park. You know, that's going to Goulart Square to get pops in the morning. And that was it. It's completely different. You know, things have changed, but you know, it made me who I am today. It made me who I am. Yeah, I had a conversation the other day, because we do get together for coffee, and we talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And the other day we were talking about, and he said, "Oh, did you always have this attitude?"
I think I said swagger.
And I'm like, swagger? What the heck? I don't have swagger. He's like, yeah, you have a certain attitude. And like, where does that come from? And it's like, okay, I never thought of it that way, but I get it. I get it from my parents. I get it from growing up in the south end of New Bedford, because you had to stand up. You had to stand up. You had to stand your ground. And I'm only, well, I think I've shrunk with age. I think I might be 5'1" now. I don't know, honey. I used to be 5'3". I don't think I'm 5'3" yet. Or maybe I was never 5'3". In my head, I thought I was 5'3". But when I was little, my parents would take me, because I knew English fluently faster than my sisters and all that. So they would take me to their doctor visits. They would take me when they wanted to complain about something. They would take me to all these places, and I would be their voice. So one of the times I went with my mother somewhere, I'll never forget this, and I don't know how, I was young, and she said, "I'm not happy with this, and I want my money back," kind of thing. And I went, "Oh, she's not happy with it, and she wants her money back." And she goes, "No, you talk to him like I'm talking to you." And I'm like, okay. And this is like, I'm a little kid. So now I've got this adult, I'm a little kid, and I'm doing this. So I guess, see, again, there I am the product of my parents. You know, I'm the product of my parents and my grandparents. So it is about them, and it'll always be about them. It really will. And carrying that on, and I think all of you that are in here, if you have not written down your family recipes, please start. If you haven't written down your family stories, please start. You might not think, no one's interested, no one cares. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because there'll always be somebody in that family, in your family, who will want that information. And you need, do you know, we had this conversation too. That was one of the other conversations we had. What is your next book, Maria? And what happened is, you know, those 4 years looking for money. In between, I would write recipes. Then I film. I'd come back. I'd write some more recipes, cook, write, take pictures, because I take my own pictures. I'm not a professional photographer, but I take pictures of my food. So there, I do all that, because again, I'm going to self-publish again. And so I do all this, and I take a break. I write back, I go back, and everybody asks me, my husband, "Maria, when are you going to be done with the book 2? I'm like, "Oh, I probably have hardly any recipes, and I'm going to have to do more time." So when we finally put all the recipes together, from here, there, notes here, notes there, all the stuff that I've been working on all these years, I have over 200 and some odd recipes. So right now, we're in the middle of putting, we're going to go through edits. I already have my designer for the cover. I've got, all the things are in place. And let's book 2, the beginning of next year. So, yeah.
Well, as we close, I think it's clear from an hour plus with Maria that we have a wonderful ambassador for Portuguese culture, for New Bedford, and for all of us. So I really thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.
And keep it up.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.